Welcome to BarryTsGarage and another episode of Ask Ed, and we're going to enjoy another set of questions you guys have sent out. Thank you for all your questions in the comments. Hi, Ed.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, Ed Smith, I just got to remind people sometime, they don't know, he is a winning racer, both in drag racing and in circle track racing, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Some of those trophies behind you.
Man.
A few of them.
You got so many, and there's some in the other building.
Yeah.
You probably have some at home. I don't know.
I don't have any at home.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, that's against the law. It's against the rules.
That's pretty funny. Okay, you got to leave it all here. Wayne, over in LA, he sent us a bunch of things about fuel pumps and fuel filters and things, and they're interesting.
There's a lot to that.
So what got him going is we talked about vapor lock.
Yeah, okay.
And you pointed out that fuel filter that was on a Pontiac or something that had a return line.
Return, yeah.
Okay, so that kind of got us started on the topic, okay? And he said one of the things he believes, now a lot of problems happen with fuel. There's a lot of things can happen. He believes that sometimes what we think of as vapor lock is actually sediment preventing the fuel pump check valves from completely closing. So sometimes debris can hold them open, dropping the pressure down to 1 psi, and that allows the heat to boil the fuel, causing lean conditions, overheating, and starter lockup due to piston expansion. What do you think? Is that a possibility?
I don't think so.
You're not on that page.
As far as my electric, there's a lot of fuel go through that fuel filter, fuel pump.
Yeah.
It flows in there so fast, it just don't sit there, even though the needle is closed.
Okay.
That needle just goes jumping up and down the whole time. The fuel pump vibration is important.
Really?
On a steel line, because that vibration pumps all the time.
Yeah.
And then shakes the line, and the line shakes the carburetor.
Oh.
And then it would actually loosen the fittings, and sometimes strips that Quadrajet.
Yeah.
It strips that big nut, fine threaded nut, ruins the threads in the carburetor.
Oh, just over time?
Just over time.
The vibration?
Yeah, vibration.
Huh.
Then the fuel pump pumping, sometimes our classes and National Honor Association class, you have to run a fuel pump, not electric or something, and that fuel pump pulse, sometimes on a good fuel pump, then makes the gas surge.
Right, and you're talking about the mechanical fuel pumps.
Yes, absolutely.
Run off the engine itself.
Yes.
Okay.
And if, let's say you have one that's got some carburation on it or something, or some one carburetor maybe or something, I'll say, but the fuel pulsing from that fuel pump all the time.
Yeah.
Well, then pulses on the needle and seat.
Yep.
So now it's banging on the needle and seat, and the float's going plop, plop, plop along with it, because it's banging on that, and a whole destruction of things there. So the good thing to do is to put an accumulator between the fuel pump and the carburetor. That would be a can so big and about so long.
Okay.
Empty can.
Yeah.
So that pulse would be on this can, and then you just have a steady flow between that and the needle and seat.
Oh.
And in the carburetor.
So that evens out that pulse.
Well, yeah, even out that pulse. That accumulator, with all the pulse would be in that can, that volume of fuel.
Yeah, right.
So that's always a good idea.
Absorb some of that.
And then again, put a rubber line between, a flexible line between the fuel pump and the carburetor.
Okay. All right.
These are all good things to do just to maintain.
Yeah, right.
Good maintenance. They don't help anything. You don't make it go any faster or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
looking to increase some horsepower. Our friend Bill says, hey, Barry and Ed, knowing that cooler or even cold air increases horsepower, would it be worth the trouble to inject air-conditioned air into the gas mixture somewhere before the carb?
we did a little bit of that. Well, there's some airflow, which is, you see some of the old super stocks took the inside headlight out and put a funnel this big around and funneled down to maybe a 3-inch or 4-inch hose and pressurized the carburetor with that. The faster you go, you got more force, air force in there. That was always good. But I don't know how you'd end up getting any kind of cold air. We love cold fuel. You know, with the can with the fuel line going around in it.
Yep.
And then full of ice. And the cool, because the cool air, and then it denses the fuel down, because heat, if you had heat, volume of liquid expands for every 100 degrees 10%.
Yeah, right.
So if you had 0 and you had 100 degrees, you'd have, and then instead of 10 gallon of gas, you'd have 11. But you have the same stuff in it, the same
energy is stored, yeah.
Energy stored in it. So it's good to cool that the same way.
Yeah, right.
And we have our dragster, we have a cooler on that, where we run the fuel through the cooler and the motorhome, and back, like run it through the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Back. But the air's kind of bulky,
yeah.
and it's be hard to do something like that. I don't know why.
Also, I think what comes to my mind is an air conditioner actually uses a lot of power to
it does.
create air conditioning.
Somehow you got to propel it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And got to compress the air to run an air compressor. You have to compress the
refrigerant,
the fluid in it, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
Freon or whatever you have in it.
Yeah.
From high, low, and so it transfers the heat.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but he's on the right track as far as cooler air.
Yeah, cooler air.
That's
true. All good.
All right, Tommy's asking, what do you think of the Predator single barrel carb that a lot of IMCA modifieds ran with in the 90s? He said, maybe I still have one. I haven't raced in a while.
Predator,
a
single barrel, one barrel?
Yeah, that's what he says here.
Never heard of it.
Huh.
Well, I never heard of that.
Well, if this helps at all, he is commenting on the video we did talking about the Braswell collectible.
It's a 2-barrel.
Yeah, it is a 2-barrel. But that caused his memory, I guess, to get triggered by this Predator single barrel carb. That's what he calls it. Maybe you haven't seen one.
I never heard of a single barrel Predator carburetor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
Okay, that's all right.
I've seen almost everything. Like
You've seen a lot.
The old carburetor, the old fish carburetor, we talked about that one as well. That was in the 50s.
It just didn't happen to land in front of you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heavy Metal Garage says, I don't get exactly what you're saying about the valve lash. Setting up valve lash, basically bottoming the lifter out and backing it off a little bit. My understanding of zero lash would be the outer limit of the lifter before it starts to tick. So how would you describe valve lash in setting that up?
Well, it sounds like he's talking about a hydraulic lifter.
Yes, okay.
And whether you would adjust it at the bottom, put the plungers all the way at the bottom of the lifter, and have it a little bit of oil in the bottom, or else have it all the way at the top and have the whole lifter full of oil.
Okay, right.
So then now you got that whole lifter full of oil that would be spongeable.
It can compress a little, right?
Yeah, compress a little bit, but how much, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the lifter will bleed out.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. Depends on, but I would sooner, if you were going to race the thing and get horsepower and RPMs, you need that lifter at the bottom. There's no oil in it at all, so it can't float.
Okay.
It can't do anything, but it's right on the bottom of the lifter.
And that's
but just a little bit, maybe 10,000ths.
Okay.
Instead of, the lifter will hold about a quarter inch of oil.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my theory about it.
That's how you like to do it.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
It depends on racing it. Yeah.
You're right.
I wouldn't do that on the street.
Right.
As far as longevity, because it may hold the valve open a little bit, but anytime you hold the valve open with no clearance, you're going to get more lift out of the valve.
Right.
Because there's no hydraulic, there's nothing hydraulic about it.
Now, what do you think about adjusting hydraulic lifters by ear when you're listening to it and just turning it and tightening?
Well, that would be clicking.
Yeah.
That'd be at the top of the lifter. It's clicking, and then you just turn it down to a quick click and then give it a half turn.
Right.
That puts it down the top half of that lifter bore.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that's normal. That's normal way which people would adjust the lifters.
Yeah, and that's for street use, I guess?
Yeah, it's just street or original.
Yeah.
Manual, house. Yeah, house. Normal car.
Yeah.
Passenger car.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah, that's the way.
Okay. Phil says he wants to know what you think about the EPA choke down cars of today. Just give us some opinion about all the emissions in the choke down cars.
I don't agree with any of it.
Okay, there
We
you
just
go.
start right there. But the thing that bugs me is airplanes, all airplanes are off limits
Yeah.
to any emissions. I get up in the morning here, sometimes I drive to work, and the whole sky over Arizona is streaks
Yeah.
of exhaust from airplanes. And don't tell me it's not. The old airplanes up there with 4 engines running diesel fuel or gas or kerosene.
Basically kerosene. Yeah.
Kerosene streaking around. And the streaks, all the streaks are huge streaks going this way and that way and everything else. The whole sky is covered. You can't tell me they don't let the sun shine through there. We're sat in the shade until maybe at 9 o'clock till all that burns off and the jets are all gone. Then we get some sunshine.
Yeah.
Real sunshine. So that don't hurt nothing with the plants or nothing. We don't get sunshine once in a while. We don't need sunshine.
Maybe the biggest overall frustration is they're always changing the rules.
Yeah.
And you can never bank on something being true 5 years from now. It's always changing. And that is super frustrating.
Yeah, frustrating, yeah.
And,
the people pay.
Yeah. We pay for
People,
it.
we pay a lot.
We do. Plunger says, do main jets have any effect on the idle fuel mixture?
No, very little.
Very little.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It idles around it.
Okay.
And that's the screws in front of the carburetor.
Okay.
The idle screws. It has a special orifice there. And that's what you bleed air into it.
That's what you're doing when
You're not bleeding
the fuel.
fuel. It's not a fuel adjustment, it's an air adjustment.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
So you add a little bit more air, and of course it's going to lean it down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think he's wondering about the, when you're putting your hand over the carb a little bit.
All we're doing is choking it.
You're choking it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like pulling a hand choke out, or putting the automatic choke on just a little bit. As soon as you do that, you slow down the air,
Okay.
and it riches it right up.
Yeah. Not because you did anything with the fuel, it's just all the air ratio.
Airflow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, airflow. That's what's picky about carburetors.
Yeah, yeah.
The airflow. And if you understand that, then you understand a carburetor.
Now, Trevor is saying, all your videos are awesome. I think some racing stories would be great.
There's all kinds of stories.
Yeah, well, can you think of one you'd like to tell us
I don't
today?
know one. We've always pulled jokes or stories on people.
Yeah.
And I'm one that would participate in something like that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And I remember our dragster, the dragster's there, and I always tell our driver, that, and they supposed to do what I tell them.
Right.
Is when they go up and stage at this, get ready to stage the car in the staging area.
Yeah.
You stage the car, not the starter.
Oh, okay.
He's got nothing to do with this car. You're driving it.
Okay.
Even though he's out there with a flag and waving you and all kinds of things.
Right.
No, he's got nothing to do with that. And just before you get there, you stop and take a big deep breath and tell yourself, I'm going to beat him.
Okay.
And calm down, roll into the lights, and be ready to go.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, if I'm around there somewhere, in staging, ready to go, I may go up to the driver and tell him, well, the other guy can hear. I don't care. He says, hey, win this race. We need the money.
Okay. Was that a good motivator?
Oh, yes, a good motivator.
Okay.
But get him off of what he's worrying about.
I see. You let him think about your problem.
Yes, right, yeah. We need the money. You better win this race.
Yeah, right.
So that was kind of fun.
Okay. Now, what would you say to make sure the other driver would maybe get?
Well, he's hearing this thing, and he may holler back, well, we need the money worse, or something.
Right.
That's happened a couple times.
Right.
Even one time, it was a long time ago, and there was a race I think it was for the money.
Uh-huh.
So I took my driver over to the other guy's car, walked over there. The guy's sitting right in the car there with the window down. I went up and measured his front fender and told my driver to beat him this far. And we're looking on his fender, how far we should beat him, this far
This
right
much,
here.
Right here, okay.
Yeah, so we just didn't pay attention to the driver. And I'm explaining to him, okay, you understand? Yeah, okay. And we turned around and walked away. And then at that particular race, we did beat him.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny overall.
You're playing a lot of mind games with those other guys.
Those other guys, that's okay.
Hey guys, just a quick heads up. We now have a home for BarryTsGarage, and it's BarryTsGarage.com. One spot where you can go to watch our videos. You can sign up for a newsletter and get kind of updates or previews on what's coming up on the next series or the next thing. Also, we finally have a proper merch store for Father's Day, just in time. So we're looking forward to having that. I'm going to have samples very soon. They're on the way. In the meantime, you can check that out. And we're excited to have better ways to connect with you. Some of you want to support us. Thanks so much for all your support, everybody.
I had one of the drivers one time, and the car was perfect car. We was in Texas. And this driver, he basically drove it once or twice or something. He drove our cars, the rest of the cars, all the rest of them. But this particular car, when we hit second gear, the car went crooked.
Okay.
So we checked the suspension. There's nothing wrong with it. We tightened up everything, snugged everything up, nothing wrong with it. So one of us says, you go up the track a little ways and watch the driver, see what he does.
Okay.
I said, I'll watch him from this end and we'll make another run. So every time he hit second gear, he yanked the shifter and the steering wheel both.
Oh.
Yeah, he yanked the shifter in the second and yanked the steering wheel, and the wheels went this way, and there he went. I said, okay, stop doing that. Hold the steering wheel steady, and you can shift it without yanking the steering wheel
So
around.
somehow he didn't even realize he was doing that.
He didn't even know he was doing it, yeah. And then joking with the tire pressure, too. There's always different things with tire pressures.
What would you do with that?
Well, I don't know, tire pressure, and tell somebody, oh, yeah, I got my tires down to so much, and that's not true at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So you give him an exaggerated number.
Yeah, it's against them. I guess I never seen anybody come over to my car and with a tire gauge and check see how much air it got. He better not.
Yeah, it's not allowed, is it?
That's not allowed. Yeah, that's just unwritten rule.
Right.
I'm not going to go to my tire pressure or check his tires.
No.
Maybe if he's not looking. Or he went to lunch or something, maybe.
Maybe you would.
But that's not when you go up to the line either. That's totally different.
That's different. Now, I guess that's messing around in the pits or in the
Yeah, but not really.
All right. Road King is asking, you talked about that one engine you built with the Dodge crank and the Chevy block and the Pontiac piston.
Yeah. Or whatever.
Whatever it was. Did you do a lot of those, or were there different
No,
combinations?
just one or two in the whole lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just particular people that wanted to do that.
Okay.
And I think it was to get around the rules and get around what was available at the time. Mm-hmm. And now they got so much stuff available right now, you just buy it.
Right.
And we didn't have that stuff available. There was no such thing as the Eagle crank or Scat cranks and stuff they were right now probably 1/4 the price that we paid trying to get it done.
Yeah, so you wouldn't do those things today?
No, not today at all, no.
Yeah, okay.
No, not at all.
This was a thing of the times.
Time of the time, yeah.
Okay, now here's a question I don't quite follow, but sometimes these are the kind of things that you know what the guy's talking about. So Roland says, I was for Braswell in the NHRA Pro Stock when Braswell wasn't cool. For example, for some simple reason, Braswell machined his Dominators to take any air or fuel bleed that Weber made, and Weber had the best selection and usually easily removable. Do you know anything about what that sounds like? Modifying carburetors.
I know. Braswell modified all the carburetors.
Uh-huh.
He could, I said there's one right in the case right over there, a 2-barrel I've had for a long time.
Yep.
Where he actually drilled it out and pressed pipe in.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and epoxied around it.
Yep.
And then each pipe had 32 little pinholes around it. But nothing, no clusters or anything in it.
That's wild.
Just wild. And I would say he's probably the most brilliant guy with carburetors I've ever seen. And anybody else. I don't think there's anybody any smarter than Braswell.
Yeah. Huh.
And I think he's still doing carburetors as far as
He's
got to be my age.
Yeah.
He's almost my age, probably.
Down in Tucson, right?
Tucson, yeah.
Okay. Tasman says, I drag race, and I use an accumulator during shutdown because the oil pressure drops right down to nothing. An accumulator helps give it some pressure when it's shutting down.
I've never experienced that, but
okay.
I would be concerned with it. Of course, I would be. If the oil pressure shuts down during shutoff, I know you sometimes put the brakes on and you put a parachute out.
Yeah.
Of course, the parachutes come out. I've seen pictures of the dragster with all 4 wheels off the ground.
Really?
Yeah, with the parachute sticking out. Because the parachute's up here, and the strings over to it, and there's the car.
The thing up.
Boom! And just picks it up and just sits it back down again. And I know brakes don't work anything. Brakes don't do anything unless they're under 150 miles an hour.
Okay.
Then you can use your brakes.
Okay.
You gotta get the parachutes to gets you down to 150.
Okay, and then the brakes can start
Yeah.
working.
And then they have two parachutes come out and almost throw you out of the seat.
Yeah.
And so when they grab, and again, I've seen pictures with the whole four wheels with the parachute. That's how much it yanks on the cage.
I thought you were going to tell me the brakes don't work when the wheels are in the air.
They don't. Well, not much. But anyways, the oil then, he's got that surge. All the oil runs out of the oil pan. It goes up the front of the pan. I don't know how many quarts I think he's going that fast. He better have a big oil pan on it. Something before 5 quarts. Somebody's got an 8-quart pan, and all the oil runs up there and goes up into the timing chain in the front of the thing.
Yep.
And starves the oil pump.
Yeah.
So I don't think I like that.
So there might be
I
a
put a
reason.
baffle in it with a door in it.
Uh-huh.
The door swings back, open, and all the oil goes in the rear like you take off. That's what the doors are.
Yeah.
We've had some pans with 2 doors. One over on the side, because you have the side for more oil.
Uh-huh.
You got a door over there and a door in the front. Yeah.
Okay.
I never had one that the oil pressure went down by
By
the
that
only thing
much?
I got, that junior fuel car, and that's right at 200 miles an hour right now, and we don't have any oil problem like that.
No problems, huh? Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. I would be concerned.
Our friend Daryl, he comes up with a lot of good questions. He said, ask Ed if you know of any specific engines that came from the factory with a 3/4 cam.
Probably the Max Wedge.
Okay, really?
Yeah, of course, it had a big cam in it. Of course it did.
Uh-huh.
And probably some of the race Hemis and the 3/4, and they would be 3/4 cams too. Maybe some of the Ford motors, the early ones,
Like the,
maybe the crossbolt 427,
yeah.
the Le Mans motor,
Oh,
and the special rods and stuff, Le Mans rods and the bolts in them and stuff,
okay.
and the 2 carburetors.
Right.
That would be a 3/4 cam. Easy. So a 3/4 cam was only about 300 duration, and it might be about 525 lift. It's not 310 or 320 duration and 600 lift. No, that's full race.
Okay.
So there's a lot of engines there come in that, not necessarily would I say the Corvette with a 30/30 cam, because I don't like that cam anyways.
No, you don't.
Anyways, but anyways, I would think there's a lot of them would had probably that maybe the Chevy, the 302 DZ motor
Yeah, okay.
with a little compression there. There's a motor sitting right there. It's probably in your video.
Yeah.
There says with a big balancer on it and 11 1/4 pistons and a big oil pan.
Uh-huh.
It's sitting right there, that
Yeah.
short block.
Okay.
And but that would probably, with that pistons in there, that would handle a 3/4 cam. Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was a good question.
Yeah, it turned out. Thank you, Daryl. Daryl does come up with some good questions. I'm trying to make sure I understand this question from Art. He says, if you change the spring weight in a governor located in the tail shaft on a Turbohydra 400, will that change the shift points?
Sure. If you make it heavier, it's going to swing out quicker and move that valve right over.
So shift quicker.
And shift quicker.
Or sooner, I guess,
Yeah, sooner, yeah.
in the RPM range?
Yeah, sure. If you had a light swing, it'd take more of the RPMs. You'd have to get up to maybe 25, 30 miles an hour in first gear
Right?
before the swing out enough to move there. Because all it does is the weights swing out and move a valve.
Okay.
And you have to swing out, and the valve's a little bit pressure because it's got oil on one side.
Uh-huh.
And it swings out, and finally moves that valve over.
I see.
And then the oil passes up, goes in the next gear.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, very good. That's straightforward.
Yeah.
Storm Norman asked, and this is a job for me, a rare question for me, and that is, would you please make a playlist on YouTube, because there's a lot of different videos on my channel, but a very high percentage of them are Ask Ed. He asked me to make a playlist, and you're welcome to the playlist. I did make this. He asked me for this, and I did it, where there's a playlist just on Ask Ed videos. That's all it is. So if you want to watch the Ask Ed videos only, you can get that playlist going. So,
They're not in any kind of category, are they?
well, that's
They
what
ask
the
us questions.
No,
Like
the questions aren't
carburation
sorted.
and transmission and there's
That's
not,
a big project.
that would be huge.
I don't know. It would be
You'd have to
hard.
go back and do every one of them and put them, mark them A, and or okay, this in here, let's say it would be B,
Right?
and oh, this is a B, and this is a B, and this is a C.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be, and then, yeah.
Well, we're in the neighborhood of 50 videos now, 50, And each one, maybe we ask 15 or 20 questions.
Yeah.
So it gets to be a lot.
Oh, wow.
But some of them, we ask similar questions again.
Sometimes we get that question. We talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll answer it again.
Yeah,
because
because
the answer is probably the same or a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, but it might have been a year and a half ago, and
Yeah.
they either forgot or didn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we've done that, and I thank you for that. And please enjoy that playlist because we've got a lot of great question and answer there for Ed. So okay, Doug says I'd like to buy that Model T jack if it's available. My uncle has a mint Model T.
Model T jack.
Yeah, remember you showed us that. I think that. Just email me if you really want that Model T jack, and I'll hook you up with Ed.
Yeah, I think that's available.
Yeah, okay, it's available.
Yeah.
If you want that Model T jack. Okay, good. Bill says, do you know that the FE Ford engines,
FE.
the FE series,
Okay.
that their oiling is the same as a small block Chevy?
I'd have to think about that, but probably most engines are the same.
They're not that different, huh?
They're not that different. Oil pump up the rear, up the front,
Yep,
goes into the cam bearing, and goes down the oil galley down the middle of the engine.
yeah,
And there's holes drilled on that goes down to each main.
yeah,
And the main goes out to each rod bearing. Rod
Yeah.
bearings are all oiled off the main bearings on any kind of motor.
yeah,
I think Ford had one that was a side oiler,
yep.
so the oil galley went down the side of the oil pan,
Yeah, and they had external tubing on
and then
that.
straight over to the main bearings.
Yeah,
And then had that drill plugged all the way down the side with oil plugs.
Yep.
It's fairly easy, and then they have to get the oil sometimes up with the rocker arm somehow.
yeah,
So that sometimes goes up one cam bearing, up into the rocker arms. So it's almost the same. All of them.
okay. I guess the one that sticks out to me that you've told me about is the Olds big block that had that seemed to favor the crankshaft area, the lower end.
And the Oldsmobile had some weird, we talk about that
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
The oil galleys are way too big,
Yeah,
and the oil goes everywhere. Yeah, we need to plug them and
yeah.
restrict that sometimes.
Put the kit in there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you plug the holes above the crank instead of installing tubes? Now this is referring to that one of your favorite videos that people have that you did is how to modify the oiling of a small block Chevy.
Yeah.
That's a good video, and you did a great job on that. And you had those standoff pipes,
Yes.
okay? So we understand the standoff pipes would keep the oil from going down there.
Yeah.
Until,
At a certain level.
yes,
If it gets higher than that, it will go down the pipe.
yes,
But it around both ends before it gets that high in the pipe.
right, okay. So the question then is, why don't you plug those holes instead of using those standoffs, I guess?
Well, we'd like it to vent.
Okay,
We need vent, yeah. We can't, I wouldn't plug it off the whole bottom system
right,
and run it the way it is, no. I would, yeah, you have to have them vent. I would definitely say vent. I would never plug them.
yes, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just the oil that's getting moved
Yeah.
around, there's the crankcase pressure.
Pressure and vent it, yeah. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, Ed, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up there.
Okay.
And thank you guys again. If you came here to the end, you get the prize. You get the extra thank you for staying to the end. And once again, thank you for supporting our program. Thank you, Ed, for doing this and sharing your wisdom. People appreciate that.
Good, good.
Okay, and we'll see
Thank
you on
you.
the next one.